Well, thank you, Jackie, and good morning, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope you're having a great start to the year and that you're healthy and well. Today's going to be really exciting. We get to tour the world with some of our friends, and so I'm going to go straight to introduction so that we can see the amazing presentations. I'm really excited about today, and I actually really look forward to one day meeting these amazing folks in person and seeing their trails from around the world. So our first guest is Rigas Zafeiriou from the Kythera Trails in Greece. Rigas is a consultant and researcher for the Mediterranean Institute and local manager of the Kythera Trails. Rigas is also the programs director of the Kythera Foundation of Culture and Development and has worked for the Passive Greece on trail research and design in other islands in Greece. As a tour leader, Rigas has designed and facilitated 30-plus multi-day trail adventures for various agencies, including REI, Trekking Hellas, Ross Holidays, and more. And so it's my great honor and privilege to introduce Rigas to you. And Rigas, we're going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
So, hi everyone. Thank you very much for the introduction, Michael. And I have to say that it's a great privilege for being able to connect with you again. And it's a great reminder to our friendship that we have built the last 3 years. And we hope to do more of that together. So I guess we are all a little bit restricted in the last many months. So I want to introduce you to Kythera Island and actually to welcome you to the world of Kythera Trails. So it has been an honor and a privilege for me to be able to work on the island that I come from. I actually come from this island, and I've been working all around the world. So the last 5 years, I'm really happy to be able to do that work and to recover the old traditional trails of our island and give it a new life. So it's like restoring our heritage trails alongside other things we do. So let's get started. So this is a view of Kythera, the south part of the island, where we see in the background the capital of the island. It's called Hora, and the castle. And here is one of the iconic trails. And what we say to others is that Kythera is one of the last untouched islands of the Mediterranean. And that sounds a bit exaggerated, but it's actually true. If you go around the Mediterranean, you're going to understand that this island has remained quite pristine. So it's a great place for discovering both nature and culture. It's a combination. This is where we are in Greece. So we are at the crossroads of 3 seas and in between the big island of Crete and the mainland of Greece. Greece is an unspoiled wonder. Sorry, just a moment. So, sorry, the last was the draft of the presentation. So here we are. This is what I wanted to do, what I mentioned before, that we have a friendship since May 2017 with Bruce Trail, and we are excited to see how we can develop that friendship even further. As I told you, we are in the Mediterranean. You can see now we are in between 3 continents, Europe, Africa, and Asia. And actually, Kythera is a very representative island of the Mediterranean culture and nature and climate. Here is our spot on the Greek map. And as you can find many different landscapes on the island. It's very unspoiled. You can still find Mediterranean beaches like this one. There are more than 60 of that on the island. The coastline is really amazing. Here's the capital of the island. We saw that from a different angle in the previous photo. Culturally, Kythera is also, this island is also very interesting because of that location, because of many civilizations that have crossed this place. So it's really every village on the island has a different identity, and that reflects even on the local language, and that's very interesting also to experience. It's a very immersive experience, and also you can really in one trail, along one trail, to find very different landscapes. And this is what in the way we design the trails, we have really highlighted that the diversity of the landscapes. Here is a picture of traditional festivities. So in the summertime, of course, that's pre-coronavirus times. So last summer we didn't have these, but in a normal summer you can find a lot of festivities from spring through summer and in the autumn. A lot of local tradition is very alive culturally, the place. So this is also one thing we want to highlight, that besides the trails you can do that, and you can do that as well. You can eat honest local food, simple food, Mediterranean food, where you don't have a lot of hidden ingredients and stuff like that. It's very, you eat what you see, and it's based on olive oil and very simple ingredients. By hiking in Kythera, of course, we don't have chain hotels, we don't have big businesses on the island. It's all about family-owned, small-scale enterprises, and that's what you support when you come on this island, especially during spring and autumn, which is the best time for hiking. A little bit about our work. So Kythera Trails is being run by 4 organizations. There is a MOU between them in order to promote the trails of the island. Our mission is to provide meaningful experience to all of you, but also to contribute to the prosperity of the local community while we protect and enhance our natural and cultural heritage. We have been following a 6-step process in order to identify priorities for conservation alongside development of the trail network. Trail design is really based on circular trails, so we want the start point and end point being the same, and making a really nice day trip hiking in beautiful trails and coming back to the same point. So we don't have this long trail format. We prefer to have smaller day hikes, and now we are in the process of combining those, so you can also have longer treks if you want. But there is a big range between the smallest is like 3-4 kilometers and the biggest is 18, so, and everything in between. Besides that, we do an ethnographic study to record local knowledge for storytelling. And that we give to visitors by an application and also through our website. So you can learn something more than just hiking around, because these are the old traditional trails and people were using them since centuries. So we also have certified 2 of our trails with a green flag. It's in a collaboration with the World Trails Network. And we have, last year we did our first Via Ferrata, and it's very well integrated between 2 trails. So you can combine hiking and Via Ferrata at the same time. We have built a community of practice. So in the last years, we see more and more locals participating in many of the things we do, including volunteering, clearings, but also every Sunday during the winter, we all gather all together and we visit different parts of the island. Lately, we have ventured into restoring our traditional micro dams, which we consider to be a green infrastructure. Now, this is actually a picture of actually building them, rebuilding them, restoring them, because we believe that they support biodiversity and farming, because they make water available, of course, but also they recharge the aquifer. And as you see on the picture, it's integrated. Many traditional microdams are integrated alongside the trail. So you can experience that while visiting the trail. Okay, now practical stuff. How can you reach Kythera? So you can reach Kythera by plane and boat. Of course, it's an island, and by plane is very easy. It's daily flights from Athens in a normal situation, not in coronavirus times. Still, there are flights even now, but less than normal. And by ferry, you're connected with Athens in 7 hours, but you can also combine with being in the south of Peloponnese or western part of Crete, where we also have a connection with the ferry, so you can combine different destinations, like you see in this picture. So this is South Kythera, and we are facing the south now, and you can see Antikythera Island and Crete. So very amazing landscapes along the way. So here is the trail network as it looks now. So we have these 11 trails of 100 kilometers in total, plus one via ferrata, and you can experience so many things alongside the trails and off the trail, with so many villages and beaches and countless places of interest, and even secret spots and secret beaches and so on. Again, a picture from my village. Spring and autumn, we believe, are the ideal season, because it's great for swimming, but also great for hiking at the same time. In the summer, it's a bit too hot, so you can do shorter hikes. Now an example of one trail, and actually I chose to show you this trail because this is the Friendship Trail with Bruce Trail. So it's our trail M49, which we call the Valley of the Watermills. Amazing 5 waterfalls along the trail and 23 old watermills. Now you can see only the ruins, and only one of them is renovated, but it's an amazing system of using little resources, just a little bit of water in order to move 23 watermills, and that's very amazing. And it's like an open air museum, we consider it. Another example from other trails here, medieval Kythera, as we call it, because you can see the old capital of the island. It's our Machu Picchu, where it's a whole ghost town next to a gorge. It's a very dramatic landscape. And some more pictures from the north of the island, another trail, where we name it Nature in Contrast, because it's really extremely contrast. You can go from this landscape to this landscape, and that's very extreme in just a few kilometers to have really very different landscapes. And that's it. So welcome to the world of Kythera Trails. You can find us on the website and social media. And of course, I'm ready to hear your comments or your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rigas. That's unbelievable and very enticing and exciting. So I know we're going to hold questions till the end until everybody presents, but I'm sure there'll be some great ones. And thank you for sharing that beautiful place with us. I next have the privilege of welcoming Rebecca Jones from the Cotswold Trail in England. And Rebecca began her career in countryside management as a volunteer after leaving agricultural college in 1993. Rebecca has worked in a number of roles ranging from practical countryside and access work to her early days as a ranger, through working as a volunteer coordinator for almost 400 Cotswold voluntary wardens who contributed 48,000 hours in 2018 and 19 caring for the trail and trying to improve it. Rebecca has also been involved in the Cotswold Way Trail for 25 years, but in 2018 took on the additional role of the Cotswold Trails and Access Officer to complement her volunteer coordinator role. So Rebecca, thank you so much, and excited to hear about your trail and about you. So welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks. I'll just start. Okay. Make sure. Share screen. Can everybody see this? Hopefully we can see this now.
Yeah, we can see your screen.
Yeah, great, fantastic. Well, thanks ever so much for inviting me to say a few words about the Cotswold Way this afternoon, or this morning, as with you. It's a real privilege, and I've, as you mentioned, Michael, I've been working on the Cotswold Way for over 25 years now, or in the Cotswolds itself. So it's a very special place and a very special trail for me. So I don't know how much you know already, but the Cotswold Way is a national trail within England and Wales, and it's one of actually 15 across England and Wales. And the latest one actually is opening over the coming year, the Coast Path. So they're aiming to have a national trail all the way around the coastline of England and Wales, which is presenting quite a few challenges, but an amazing amount of trails now accessible for people across England and Wales, which is great news. As you can see here, this is the Cotswolds, and a little map below in the corner will tell you it's very accessible. So what we find is we'll often have people visiting the Cotswolds from London, Oxford, Birmingham, Bristol, and all the cities around. But also because of its sort of ease of access and its international reputation, we do have a great number of international visitors that we welcome coming in Birmingham and London airports. So we welcome a whole range of people. Sometimes they just come for the day and walk a section of the trail. Others will actually walk the entire trail over a week. It takes about a week to walk the entire trail, although somebody recently ran it in less than 24 hours. So if you're interested in that, you can do that as well. The Bruce Friendship Trail was, we linked with yourselves in 2015, and what we've done is created a route, a Bruce Trail Friendship Trail in the Cotswolds using part of the Cotswold Way National Trail, and it's in the centre, so probably halfway along the length of the trail. And it's a 9.7 kilometre route that predominantly actually takes you around woodland area, so really beautiful woodlands with some key viewpoints across the escarpment as well. So if you come over and visit, you can download one of these the route and follow the waymarks and see the woodland. I have to say the woodland is best seen in the spring and the autumn, but the bluebells and the carpets of bluebells are a fantastic view to come and visit. So that's one of our selling points. But the Cotswold Way, although it's been a national trail only since 2017, it actually was first marked by hand by volunteers then 50 years ago. So we have been celebrating our 50th anniversary this year. And I think what makes the Cotswolds so special is its variety. You get the views. Most of the Cotswold Way National Trail runs along the escarpment. So we have a limestone escarpment running along, and you have the most amazing views from this. And these are some of the views that you could see walking the trail. So down into the valleys, into the rolling countryside, are classic views from the Cotswold Way. And of course, along with that comes topographs. So along a lot of these high points, we've got points to stop and enjoy the view and have a look out into the wide landscape, see where you can see the sort of the cities, the hills, the mountains, over to Wales even. So along the trail, you'll often see one of these topographs telling you about where you are and what you can see from your view. But of course, I think one of the other things that Cotswolds is known for, of course, is sheep and wool. And we still see sheep grazing in the Cotswolds today, so you'll still see that as you walk through. And I think that's what's made the Cotswolds so important, because of course the wool industry back in the medieval times is what really developed the Cotswolds. The money from the wool and the sale of the wool that was grazed, the sheep that were grazed in the Cotswolds, built up the churches and the towns and the grand houses that you'll see along the trail today. So they're a sort of a look back in time, really, when you see these sheep still grazing as they did in medieval times. Much of the trail is through farmland, so classic farmland views, arable and grazing, and of course the classic dry stone walls, Cotswold stone walls, which would have in the past kept in the sheep. These days, sadly, quite a few are being lost because they're not necessary anymore. But a lot of money is now being put into trying to restore them as features in the landscape, because obviously it's a very important feature within the Cotswolds National Landscape. And of course, as I mentioned before, woodland. We have a lot of beech and ash woodland to see, and so when you're walking the trail, it will be farmland mixed with woodland, mixed with views. So a sort of a variety, and you could get that within a 5-mile section. So a lot of variety in a very short space of time. Villages and history. The Cotswolds, I suppose, has a huge, a very long-standing history of human settlement. This is Belasnap, which is a Neolithic barrow, so that's 3000 BC. And this is just one of many barrows and ancient sort of sites that you'll see actually positioned along the trail itself. So you actually go past these sites as you're walking. And this is one of our hill forts. So in the Iron Age, the tops of the Cotswolds were very popular for building the hill forts for defensive reasons, and so the remnants of those are still there today. At least 3 or 4, or go across 3 or 4 of these hill forts as you're walking the trail, and from there, of course, you'll get the spectacular views. And this is Hales Abbey, which was destroyed by Henry VIII when he destroyed the monasteries. So we've got sort of history there from all centuries. So this is from this is actually was built in the 13th century, but destroyed obviously in the time of Henry VIII. And as I mentioned before, with the money from the wool and the money's coming into the Cotswolds, we have the grand houses. This is Stanway House, which is still lived in by the Weems family. And they open up their gardens. This is a feature of theirs, the fountain. But obviously, a lot of the big houses now are owned by the National Trust and organisations like that. So along the trail, you can take time to visit the gardens and the houses that you're seeing. So this is some of the many gardens that you can visit, again, in villages along the trail. Now, it's not just a classic. What you'll find also is slightly quirky features as well to look out for along the trail. This is a folly set on the top of a hill in Broadway, in the northern section of the trail. We've got stocks in the middle of a village you might walk through, where they used to keep the local criminals. We have stone stile features, so you could be walking, and rather than just the wooden stiles that are so common around, you would have a stone stile, a stone slab. Marker stones, very, very popular, and you often come across milestones, marker stones along the trail, made in the traditional stone with the cast iron plates. This is halfway along the trail. A lavender farm. A lot of farmers now are diversifying, and lavender is very good to grow in the Cotswolds, so a visit to the lavender farm could be part of your visit as well. And the steam railway as well, which I've just passed. We have a steam railway in the Cotswolds, and you can actually use part of the section to join the steam train and then walk back along the trail from Broadway to Winchcombe. So a fantastic link there, and just an excursion or something a little bit different if you feel like time out from walking along the trail. Of course, many market towns. So we've got plenty of market towns and villages to stay in, which is really important. We've got B&Bs, hotels. This is Chipping Camden, the beginning of the route. So plenty of accommodation to choose from if you're feeling like visiting. And this is one of our villages, Snows Hill, where we've got pubs as well. So pubs often offer local accommodation, as well, of course, as food and drink and pints, which are increasingly popular. Of course, the cosy pub with the pint and food is still internationally and nationally very popular. choice within the Cotswolds. And this is one of the hotels in Chipping Camden. And this is one of the features you might see if you start in Bath or end in Bath. This is the stone that you'll see that marked the trail. And of course, we've got a World Heritage Site as well. So Bath is a World Heritage Site, and often people will end the trail in Bath and then spend a few days actually just looking through Bath itself, because there's plenty of things to do and see there. Of course, if you don't want the built heritage, we've got plenty of natural beauty as well. And this is one of our hares, our brown hare, European brown hare. And of course, we've got plenty of farmland. So in the spring, you'll see them boxing and racing around. You'll also see barn owls if you're walking in dusk or sort of earlier in the morning. And of course, the beech woodland is a fantastic habitat for a lot of plants. So we've got wild garlic that you'll see carpeting the woodlands in spring, along with the bluebells. So spring is a very good time to walk the trail, late spring. But summer, we'll see all the wildflower meadows come out. We've got a lot of nationally important and internationally important limestone grassland. With that comes orchid species. So this is a bee orchid and a pyramidal orchid. So plenty of orchid species to see in probably late spring, midsummer time, and a harebell. And with those flowers come the butterfly life. So we've got an Adonis blue here and a marsh fritillary butterfly. So of course the grasslands and the woodlands all contribute, and the Cotswold Way National Trail runs through a number of grassland and woodland nature reserves. So you're likely to see some of this as you're walking through. And on a hot day, you may even see our only poisonous species, the adder. It's our only poisonous species in this country. And they love basking in the sun, but sadly their numbers have dwindled over the years. So it's a rare sight, but a great sight to see. Now, when you're walking, you'll see all the waymark discs. It's very well waymarked, and that really is huge thanks to our volunteers. Obviously, as part of that, we're waymarking it for footpath, and you'll see cyclists and horse riders, a common feature as well. But our volunteers, you may also well meet. As we mentioned before, they in total gave 48,000 or over 48,000 hours within the year before last. Sadly, restrictions have caused problems this year, but 10,000 of that spent on the trail. So a huge amount of work goes into the trail. Because we have very limited financial resources, the volunteers are incredibly important, and they have a real ownership of sections of the trails. So they've been repairing gates and signposts here. They help us clear trees, so the path's nice and clear for people to walk, and they carry out surfacing work. So fantastic range of different things, and dry stone walling. We run training for our volunteers as well, and we run courses that visitors often join in on as well, to learn the rural skills that help maintain the trail and everything that goes with that. And we even lead guided walks. So last year, well, the year before last, we had 300 walks a year, and part of that are specifically led walks along the National Trail. So they will help people to enjoy and get out of the towns and the cities, and visitors to enjoy the trail. And the local volunteers will give you information about the local history and the wildlife and what you see along the trail, which is fantastic. So thank you for that. Thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed your virtual tour of the Cotswold Way, and I really look forward to welcoming some of you to come and join us. And we've got plenty more information on the National Trails website, on our now website, and that's information about walks, guidebooks, and any information on accommodation you want on the trail. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca, and what a spectacular tour. And I know many of us can't wait to get there either. And we also have a rich tradition, and super proud and grateful for our volunteers. And it was nice to hear about the work that they're doing. So thank you so much. And again, we'll have some questions for you at the end. So thank you. I next have the pleasure of introducing Maya Karkour from the Lebanon Mountain Trail in Lebanon. And Maya is the president of the Lebanon Mountain Trail Association. Maya has been in charge of developing and helping to implement environmental education programs along the trail, working with the Ministry of Education and public schools. Maya also completed the 30-day trail walkthrough in 2014, and in her profession, Maya is the managing director of Eco Consulting, which she co-founded in 2003 in the UK. Maya oversees numerous projects aiming at reducing environmental footprints. Maya holds a Master's in Science Honors of the Environment from the London School of Economics and Political Science, and is a LEED accredited professional, a BREEAM licensed assessor, and a low carbon energy assessor. In her spare time, Maya enjoys swimming, hiking, sailing, yoga, climbing, and photography. And Maya, welcome and thank you for being with us. We can't wait to see this tour.
Thank you, Michael, for the introduction, and thank you for inviting me to be present amongst you and to present the Lebanon Mountain Trail to everyone listening today. So the Lebanon Mountain Trail is a trail, we call it a trail to a shared heritage, and I'll be going through the journey with you so that you discover what it is all about. Yeah, let me start first with Lebanon. So it's this very tiny Mediterranean country. We're just about 4.5 to 5 million people, and it is blessed by a very beautiful climate. So we're really privileged in terms of being on the Mediterranean Sea, and we're a mountainous country. So we have the 4 distinct seasons and very nice climate. I mean, except now we're seeing the consequences of climate change. But in principle, we have 4 distinct climates, which makes it very favorable to biodiversity. So the Lebanon Mountain Trail is the first national long distance trail in the country, and the only one at the moment in terms of being a long distance trail. It crosses Lebanon from north to south. It's 470 kilometers long. And we go through about 75 towns and villages. So we have, it is composed or decomposed into 27 different sections. And we also have 4 side trails, which are kind of loops in certain areas joining the trail. When you hike on the LMT, the abbreviation for the Lebanon Mountain Trail, the elevation varies between 470 to about 2,000 meters in terms of altitude. So we go through 3 natural protected reserves, 1 World Heritage Site, which is the Kadisha Valley, 2 biosphere reserves, and a few protected areas and for migrating birds, and many water springs along the way. What is also interesting to note is that about 50% of the path is actually a historical footpath that we have. So we did not create these trails. A lot of them were just maintained and rediscovered. And they used to be used by villagers to commute from one village or town to another. And there's still many of them are still being used by shepherds or even locals. Then about 40% consists of dirt agricultural road, and 10% is paved, and it's usually when you get closer to a village or a town that you get paved roads. These are the blazing signs of the LMT, 2 colors, white representing the snow on the top of the mountains, and purple, which is the color that was famously discovered by our ancestors, the Phoenicians in the Mediterranean region, and in particular Lebanon, which a color that came from the shell called the murex, and they started trading all sorts of things and clothes and textile with this purple color. So we got inspired from it. Because we're really lucky to have this beautiful weather and four climates. The landscaping and the biodiversity is extremely rich. The landscape and the biodiversity is extremely rich in the country. So you go from one different type of landscape to another when you're hiking on the LMT. And as you can see, there's snow on top of the mountains. We have a lot of water along the way. So during one day of hiking, even on one section, you may discover different types of landscapes, going from more desertic landscape to greener, more rich, more lush landscapes. We have a lot of different natural sites, a lot of water along the way, rock formations, and different natural resources. Like I said, the country is very rich in biodiversity. It hosts a lot of endemic species that are either endemic to Lebanon or to the Mediterranean region. And that means also fauna, flora, birds, and different things to discover along the way, and wildlife. I guess the most famous tree is the cedar tree, which is also cited in the Bible as the tree of God. And the cedar trees have been traditionally used by many different civilizations: the Romans, the Egyptians, the Greeks, the Phoenicians. And they've been used, for example, to help building the Egyptian pyramids, and even they're even present still in the Acropolis in some of the foundations and the columns that are there in the Acropolis in Greece, in Athens. Other famous tree or very endemic tree from the region that we find at high levels is the juniper tree, which is also only endemic to the region, Turkey, Syria, and Lebanon. As you can see, the biodiversity is quite rich in terms of flowers, insects, butterflies. And the spring is probably the best season to hike on the trail, given the fact that you have all of these flowers, blossoming, beautiful flowers, lots of colors, but also a lot of water after the snow, or when the snow starts melting. So we go through agricultural land in many areas, and we cross many different villages. We have a very rich cultural heritage due to the fact that even though the country is very tiny, we still have 17 different ethnic religious groups in it, with different traditions, different ways to dress. Even some of the folklore is not the same. And so when you go from one place to another, you might, cross a section and then be suddenly in an entirely Muslim village. Then you go to a Christian village, then you go to a mixed village, and you can discover a Druze village. So there is a lot to discover and to learn along the way. And that also is part of the beauty of hiking on the LMT. We meet shepherds along the way. We have a lot of historical, archaeological, and architectural heritage. As you can see here in this palace. We also have the museums of different well-known artists and writers, such as Khalil Gibran, who is famous internationally. And a lot of archaeology, like I mentioned. Here we have the ruins, the Roman ruins, Roman and Hellenic ruins of Kythera, for example. Crossing here a Roman bridge. And what we are really, really proud about is our culinary heritage. Here you can see a very old traditional oven where in the north of Lebanon, in the region of Karkour, they still cook the bread using this oven, the flat bread that we use, one of the flat breads that we use in our cuisine. And one of the things that we work on a lot as an association is working with the local communities along the trail. And in particular, with the locals to open guest houses to welcome the hikers and the tourists in a responsible way. And you can still see here that some areas, they still sit and eat on the floor the traditional way. This is one of my favorite places to eat on the trail in Tesha in the north. The so rich, diverse. And we actually work with them to enhance the experience with the locals and with the tourist hikers, in the sense of we've identified seasonal recipes and dishes that are traditional from their region or even from their villages, where they go foraging for wild herbs and that they cook to serve. And this is also part of the wonderful experience when you hike on the trail. So the hospitality, we're very known, I mean, as many Mediterranean countries, we're very known for our hospitality. And I always say that one of the things that we don't fight about is the food in Lebanon. We're always agree that we love our food. As an association, the Lebanon Mountain Trails Association main mission is to actually develop, maintain, and conserve this national trail by promoting responsible tourism, developing economic opportunities with the rural communities along the trail, protecting this heritage, whether the natural, cultural, or architectural heritage. And by doing so, one of our tools is to really work a lot in terms of education, raising awareness, working with the communities. And I'll just talk a little bit about that also so that you have an idea. So in terms of trail conservation and maintenance, one of the things that events unfortunately, during the past year, we had to cancel them because of the COVID situation, but our main event is this April through walk. Can you still hear me? Because it's saying the connection is unstable.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So the April through walk, it's a walk where we cross the country from north to south. So we have 27 sections, meaning that you really literally have to walk for a full month to cover the whole trail. Not everyone goes for a full month, of course. Some people join us for weekends, some people come from a week or two from abroad, and some of them decide to be adventurous enough and go through the whole journey. So we receive visitors from abroad. We have a lot of locals who walk, and typically during a through walk, we have over 250 participants who hike with us. We're welcomed by the municipalities along the trail, by the communities. We engage with them because one of the main aims of this hike is also to make the locals realize that this trail exists and that they should be the stewards of our trail, to protect it and to help us conserve it, preserve it. So we engage with them a lot. Here you can see 12 years ago, the first core team who hiked the whole of the LMT. And this is actually the year I discovered LMT and fell in love with it. And it's a real adventure. Some people go for trail running, some people go for cycling on the trail, but mostly it's used for hiking and walking activities. We are also very happy, and that's one of the reasons why I'm here now presenting tonight, to be part of the World Trails Network. And we have connections with different trails around the world, one of them being the Bruce Trail Conservancy, which, by the way, was the first friendship trail we created. There's this international program called Friendship Trail, so we're friends with the Bruce Trail Conservancy, the Jeju Ole in South Korea, the Trilhac Trench Carioca in Brazil, and very recently Grand Montana in Switzerland and the Sendero Pacifico in Costa Rica. So this was the inauguration ceremony years ago with the Bruce Trail Conservancy. And you can see here on this map, we twinned your trail with our trail section 5, which is in the north, in the region of Ehden, where we have one of the the wildest, actually, natural protected reserve in the country, a beautiful area. Other pictures from different friendship trails. We also have an ambassador program whereby we have LMT ambassadors from different parts of the world to help us connect internationally, whether with the Lebanese diaspora or with hikers from around the world to represent us in different events, outdoor events, and to talk about this trail, because it's a recent trail. It's a trail that is 12, 13 years old. So the more we don't have enough traffic yet on it, and this is one of our main objectives. So the more we talk about it, the better it is. In terms of community development, like I said, we developed this whole value chain where we work with guest houses, with local guides, with restaurants, with different people to make this experience really enjoyable along the trail. So we engage with the municipalities, with promoting local produce, food provisions, things like that. We have developed a training of local guides with different experts, where we trained at least 30 local guides from different regions on each of the sections of the LMT, whereby we gave them expert courses and training in different topics such as history, geology, biodiversity, safety, trail maintenance, and so on. And now on our website, we have this boot rating systems whereby people who decide to hike certain sections can directly contact the local guides, and they know, some of them have 2 boots, others have received the 1 boot, depending on how they did in their training, and some don't even have a boot, but they're still local guides. And the idea, again, is to generate economic job opportunities in rural areas so that people don't migrate to large cities and stay in their villages too. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is the education programs, which I personally took in charge 6 years ago, developing environmental education programs. One of them is called the Environmental Championship Program. It's over 5 days. We take 15 kids from different ethnic groups and backgrounds, private and public schools, and we engage them thoroughly. They sleep with us in different guest houses along the trail. We engage them in experiential learning activities in nature so that they really understand our link with nature, how important it is for our survival, for our health, and for the wildlife around us, and also to understand this link to hiking and the culture of trails. The same program is also developed throughout the school year with public schools along the trail. There are 33 of them. We work with the authorization of the Ministry of Education to take the kids out. The kids, and these kids are village kids, so they, some of them don't even know about the existence of this trail. So we teach them, we take them out, they learn, and they do different, trail cleaning activities, talk to experts in, for example, in biodiversity and so on. And again, it's to raise awareness, because mental education is really not a priority in the country, and we have a lot of environmental damage happening. The last thing we've developed that might be interesting to some of you, if you have kids between 9 to 12 years old, we received funding from the Swiss Embassy a few years ago. We managed to develop this platform called Mountain Explorers, whereby kids can go on a virtual journey and discover the main resources that mountains give us: water, air, biodiversity, forest, agriculture. And the way it goes is that there's a short animation of each of the themes. There are also lots of extra activities that they can do with their friends, with their parents, or at school. And
well, unfortunately, it looks like Maya's connection has dropped.
So we'll welcome Maya back if she's able to do so. But in the interim, Jackie, I'm going to go with some questions that came through from the previous presentations. Oh, there we go. Hi, Maya.
Hello. So you lost me. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay. Where was I when?
I think you were on your last slide. You were telling us about the work that you're doing with children and badges and so on.
With the online platform.
Okay, so this platform, Mountain Explorers, Yeah, exactly. Okay, so this is how it looks. It's free. Anyone can use it. It's available in English, French, and Arabic. And you have to log in, the password, log in, and go through the journey. Every time an activity is undertaken, there is on the passport to enhance the journey. So the idea is to become an environmental champion or explorer and accumulate as many stamps as possible.
Maya, you'll need to start sharing your screen again. Sorry.
English is the fact I really wanted to highlight the fact that unfortunately we're facing many challenges in terms. Sorry,
you'll have to start sharing your screen again.
Am I breaking up?
You are breaking up, but we also can't see your screen anymore.
Okay. Okay, I'm almost done anyway. Let me share the screen.
Thank you everyone for being patient as we have a few technical issues.
In any case, I mean, it's necessary to share the screen. What I wanted to say to me.
Unfortunately, it looks like Maya's internet is unstable again. So Michael, do we want to move to questions?
Yeah, I think we'll do that. And so we again, we'll welcome Maya back if she's able to join us. The first question is for Rigas, and it has to do with wildlife. And so what wildlife do you have on your island, Rigas? So
it's a great question because I didn't have, I made a very short presentation. I didn't have time to talk about that. We do have, we have a lot of wildlife, and actually most of the island is protected area, either by special protection areas. It's part of the Natura 2000 European network. So we do have a lot of protected areas, mainly for migratory birds. But also this includes also the coastline of Kythera, because we do have a rare species of the Mediterranean monk seal. So if you do diving, which is also available on the island, you might encounter one of those animals, which are very rare. And also a couple of sea turtles, the Mediterranean turtle, the loggerhead turtle, and so on. The main thing is also the plant diversity, which is extreme. We do have, we did also research on that, and we added a few species on the list. So we have now 820 plant species on the island, which is quite a big number for such a small place. So I hope it answers your, and on the culture side, we do have 147 protected monuments on this island. So it's very dense, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Rigas. The next question is also for you. And are there any guided experiences available in terms of accommodation and so on and so forth?
Yeah, exactly. So through our website, you can also connect to some local guides. Additionally, there are a few local businesses, small businesses that operate on the island, which is great because we want that. We want to promote local entrepreneurship, and we do collaborate with them on various actions that we do, including also clearings and volunteering and so on. And they also provide a large set of different experiences on the island, including also trekking. So you can go from the north to south, multi-day trekking experiences, hiking. However, we create the Trails network for any independent visitors. They can find out themselves what they want to do on the island. Additionally, I want to mention that we have the strong link with the culinary traditions, and there have been some experiences like olive picking or harvesting grapes and making wine alongside the farmers. So that's also a very interesting experience. In the last few years, people make their own olive oil as visitors. They help out, and they also produce some olive oil, and some of it they take home, and it's a great experience as well. We have silent walks combining yoga with hiking and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of different experiences, including also diving and canyoning. We are now developing a lot of canyoning routes on the island as well. I show you the Via Ferrata. Now we are preparing 2 more Via Ferratas, and actually we are going more into canyoning as well.
Okay, thank you, Rigas. A great answer and lots of exciting things to think about there. The next question's for Maya, and the question is, how safe is it to hike the LMT without a guide? And is there an organization that organizes itineraries or accommodations?
In terms of safety, I mean, it is relatively safe to hike it without a guide, but I usually do not recommend to hike it on your own to start with, like as a general safety rule, especially that the weather can change quite fast and unpredictably in the mountains, especially high up in the mountains. And it's really some areas and some passages are quite difficult. They're not necessarily straightforward, and you go up and down, and it's always better to be at least accompanied by 1 or 2 other people. And if you want to undertake the journey on your own without a local guide, to at least contact one of our, either our trail manager or one of our guides to get proper information, the maps, the GPS mapping, so that you're really well equipped before undertaking the journey on your own. Some sections are much easier than others, and they are very well blazed. When we go through, for example, natural protected reserves, you can go on your own. There's no safety issue. So it really depends on the different regions and areas. But the most important thing is to get as much information before you organize your trip. The second thing is that, yes, we collaborate, the second question, we collaborate with responsible tour operators who can organize everything for you. So if you are not planning to hike during these 2 landmark hikes that we have in October and in April, then the best way to do it is to go through one of these eco tour operators who can organize everything for a whole group, including the picking up from the airport and eventually even exploring different areas of the country, not just hiking, like having a hybrid trip if you're interested to go to visit other areas or even go swim in the sea. So yeah, it's we have all of this information available on our website. I'll put it in the Q&A, the web address, and the eco tour operators are on it, the local guides are on it, and all, of course, our contact details.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next question for Rebecca, and I know that both Rigas and Maya talked a little bit about the culinary aspects of their trails. I'm wondering what we could look forward to from a culinary perspective.
Oh, right. Well, certainly you've got a big range in the Cotswolds. So you've got, I suppose, the Michelin star restaurants in some of the areas, and obviously Bath has got a huge collection of restaurants, high-end restaurants. And then, of course, you've got very good traditional, I suppose, English, British sort of food at the pubs and local B&Bs. So if you're staying at a B&B, you'll get the traditional English breakfast. And the pubs will be offering local beers, local cheeses. We do have a vineyard now, although not directly on the trail, but we just a lot of local produce. In fact, it's becoming more and more popular, the sort of Cotswold, particularly cheeses, Cotswold cheese, and now more and more the sort of wines, the breweries that are along the trail. So there's quite I suppose, a variety of very local produce, as well as obviously the sort of high-end markets and more expensive restaurants to sort of sample as well. So a range. Okay, great. So we got time for 2 more questions, and this question is again for Rigas, and it's: are there any work, or is there any work available to join the trails, to help build the trails or volunteer with the trails in Kythera?
Yeah, so I have to tell you that our trail initiative is relatively younger even than compared to Lebanon Mountain Trail. So a lot of that has been done by volunteers, and still we facilitate volunteering programs And in 2019, actually, was the year that we started broadening up a little bit and trying to invite more people and sort of make it a more kind of stable part of the yearly, our yearly activities. Of course, 2020 kicked in with the coronavirus. So now, as we move out of that, hopefully, hopefully, when we move out of that, we're going to be back into designing again volunteer activities, and we have the yearly maintenance. And actually, that you need to note down that the yearly maintenance is March, April, May. So these 3 months are the best for trail maintenance on Kythera Island, because of the weather conditions, the vegetation status, and so on. And that's a great time to visit the island because it's ideal for hiking as well. So you can combine that with the trip. And we want to now establish it as a yearly pattern. So every March, April, we do have organized groups of volunteers alongside more independent groups that we work with on the island. So we have also locals joining in, and people that love the island come every year, so they have an established relationship with us.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. And so the last question I'm actually going to throw over to Jackie at the BTC. And the question is, does the BTC organize any trips to these trails? And John has done some working vacations around the world, but they're wanting to know if the BTC is involved in helping to organize some trips. So Jackie, if you could help us with that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so the BTC was involved in sending volunteers down to Costa Rica through our friendship trail with the Sendero Pacifico, and that was mostly organized by Roz and Nat, who is our contact down there. We had started talks with the Kythera Trails before the pandemic about having volunteer vacations, but obviously those talks got put on hold. If there is interest in volunteer vacations to other trails, we're definitely willing to make those links and sort that out for you. And if you're interested, please do get in touch with me. If you're just interested in traveling to one of our friendship trail partners, you can contact me and I can introduce you to our contact at the other trail, and they can help you with your planning.
Okay, thank you, Jackie. That's fantastic. So Rigas, Rebecca, and Maya, thank you so much for this amazing tour of the world. I know it's been a bright spot for me and for my day, and I absolutely look forward to seeing you all one day in the future. I hope all of you stay healthy and well, and we look forward to seeing you here in Canada along the Bruce Trail as well when the time permits. So thanks for your time today, and thanks to everybody that joined us. Happy hiking, everybody. Take care.
Thank you,
Hiking. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Hope to see you in person.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. And to hike.
Yeah.
Yeah.